I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, September the 16th, 2015. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed today to take stronger measures against rock throwers after a man was killed over the Jewish New Year from a rock attack. 64-year-old Israeli Alexander Levlovitz was driving his car in the Jerusalem neighborhood of East Talpiot late Sunday night when it was pelted with rocks, causing him to lose control, driving into a ditch and hitting a pole. It is unclear if Levlovitz died of the injuries he sustained or suffered a heart attack as a result of the stone throwing. An autopsy is underway. Levlovitz's two daughters who were traveling in the car sustained light injuries. The stone throwers are believed to be Palestinian residents of the nearby Arab neighborhood of Sur Bacher. Netanyahu held an emergency meeting last night at the end of Rosh Hashanah to discuss preventative measures against such attacks, as well as to address the upsurge in violence at the Temple Mount by Palestinian protesters. Government officials decided at the meeting to consider changes in protocol during such incidents. Netanyahu said at the meeting, "We will use all necessary measures to fight against those who throw stones, firebombs, pipe bombs, and fireworks in order to attack civilians and police," something he said that would set a new standard of deterrence and prevention. Police in Israel had beefed up security after several violent days over the Rosh Hashanah holiday at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem's Old City, which saw Palestinian demonstrators throwing firebombs, rocks, and fireworks at Israeli security forces and at Jewish worshippers. White House spokesman Josh Earnest said the United States is deeply concerned about the violence at the site, which is holy to both Jews and Muslims. He said earlier this week that it was critical for all sides to, quote, exercise restraint and refrain from provocative actions and rhetoric. And Israeli border police officers were able to prevent a stabbing attack this afternoon. Ynet reports that a Palestinian man approached security forces at the Tapuach Junction near Nablus in the West Bank. During a security check, the man pulled out a knife and tried to stab a border police officer. The officer drew his weapon, scaring off the suspect, who was then caught and taken in for questioning. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu will be heading to Russia next week to meet with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Israeli media cites Netanyahu's office saying that the Prime Minister will speak to Putin about the threats Israel is facing from the military support given to Syria by Russia and the risk that some of that weaponry will wind up in the hands of Hezbollah and other terror groups that threaten Israel. This will be the first visit by Netanyahu to Moscow since November of 2013. And Israel's President Rivlin hosted a delegation from the Council of the Bishops' Conferences of Europe today in Jerusalem. He told the group that Israel is proud of the fact that there is freedom of worship for all religions in the country. He condemned recent vandalism at holy Christian sites and said that Israel stands united against such heinous acts and that an attack on a place of worship is an attack on us all. Lithuania's prime minister has pledged that all Jewish graves in the country will be marked, memorialized, and maintained by the year 2017. Prime Minister Algirdas Butkevičius announced the government project in a speech before the Israel Council on Foreign Relations and the World Jewish Congress in Jerusalem last week. The Jewish community in Lithuania was a large and vibrant one, and it was almost completely eliminated during the Holocaust. Several Jewish cemeteries in Lithuania were destroyed by the Soviets after World War II. Butkevičius said at the gathering that the history of Lithuania is unthinkable without the Jewish presence. Greetings for a sweet Jewish New Year were expressed by several leaders across the globe. On the eve of Rosh Hashanah Sunday, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu released a video message from his residence in Jerusalem, lauding Israel as the only democracy in the region. He said Israel was obligated to stand up against those who slander the Jewish state.
We're united, proud of our past, confident in our future.
U.S. President Barack Obama also expressed his best wishes. He noted that at this time of year, we, quote, recognize our tremendous power to make a difference.
As a community bound together by shared values, side by side with friends and allies like the State of Israel, Let's write the next chapter in a way that speaks to the best of our traditions and the highest of our ideals. Let's usher in a sweet new year full of health and happiness for our families, friends, and neighbors, whether they live down the street or halfway around the world. Happy New Year, everyone. And from my family to yours, Shana Tova.
And British Prime Minister David Cameron released a video message for the new year as well, where he noted several anti-Semitic attacks that took place over the past year. He said Jewish communities must not be left to live in fear.
As Prime Minister, I'll do everything I can to stamp out such hatred now and in the future.
And taking a look now at our JBS programming for tonight, Wednesday, September the 16th. At 8 o'clock, Ambassador Ron Prosor, Bishop Joseph Garlington, and Israel Experience students take part in the 2015 Eagles Wings Gala, led by Pastor Robert Stearns from the Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York City. Then at 9 o'clock, Mark Golub sits down with Nancy Brinker, who is founder of the Susan G. Komen organization On L'Chaim. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, September the 16th, 2015. I'm Teisha Bader.